What's going on YouTube? Username Kite562 here with another review of Beastars Volume 6, and this is another manga review. Now, with the start of this volume, Haru knew it was Legoshi who attacked her at the water fountain within Volume 1, and it was just a really eye-opening scene within the manga because it really delves deeper into both Haru and Legoshi's sides of differential instincts and everything within this volume alone, since they're still in the love hotel place that has co-species rules where both a carnivore and herbivore can enter, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, here's my review and let's get on with it. So like I said, Haru knew it was Legoshi who attacked her within volume 1, but she didn't really want to say anything to Legoshi because she opened up to him about how she enjoyed being his friend and spending time with Legoshi in general, and she just really enjoyed herself around him, and she always felt safe around Legoshi, but I guess she didn't want to believe that it was Legoshi who attacked her. So, as Haru and Legoshi spend a little bit more intimate time at the Love Hotel, they tried to, do the deed, but Haru instinctively and surprisingly ends up trying to crawl into Legoshi's mouth. Like at first within the manga panels, she tries to forcefully open up his mouth, maw, whatever you want to call it, with her hand and just push upward, and all you see all these beautiful details of Legoshi's fangs and everything, and she's just slowly trying to instinctively crawl into Legoshi's mouth, and she can't figure out why her body's trying to crawl in there, but she figured out that it was her feral instincts, since according to Haru, both carnivores and herbivores have their own internal instincts that they have to deal with on a daily basis, which I thought was a really interesting standpoint in this volume alone. So it was just a really eye-opening scene, seeing how carnivores and herbivores deal with their own both sides of instincts within this situation. So anyway, like after Legoshi and Haru went back to school, Bill, a good chunk of the drama club members are at the Meteor Festival area still, so they're still talking about how Haru was kidnapped by the Shishigumi, or in this case, a white dwarf rabbit. A small white dwarf rabbit, what I'm going to call it. So, yeah. They tried to figure out who it was missing, but it turns out to be Haru, so yeah, both Haru and Legoshi were off campus for the night, and they both ended up returning safely back to Cherryton. So Bill tries to figure out if Legoshi did the deed with Haru, but in this case, no. So, and before I forget, this review will contain spoilers, so yeah. So anyway, as Legoshi enters the infirmary, the den mother, what I want to call it, the head mistress of the dorms for the carnivores, tries to really scold Legoshi for, being out late, staying almost out for curfew, and she almost called his teachers in to, lecture him, discipline him, whatever they do. And it was just really eye-opening that whenever Legoshi would mention the Shishigumi, the den mother would just tell him not to mention that organization, and she's just surprised that he was able to survive the onslaught of the Shishigumi's headquarters and the goons in there. So, and then on top of that, Juno tries to intervene and still tries to win Legoshi over, but, as hard as Juno might, she can't really break through to Legoshi's heart because Legoshi still has feelings for Haru. And funny enough, Haru and Juno end up crossing paths and jealousy unfolds, but I really won't spoil it for you here. It was just really enjoyable for me as a reader, and that's all I will say about that. So please support the official release of the manga. Yeah. So anyway, after a few pages of the manga volume itself, Juno brings Legoshi onto the stage of the Meteor Festival, thus causing a slight strange in horror in Legoshi's quote-unquote relationship. So, yeah, this was like a little further on within the volume. I just found out this was a really interesting point to talk to from my own opinion. So, yeah, as Legoshi is dragged onto the Meteor Festival stage, Juno tries to proclaim that carnivores love to protect herbivores, or something around those lines. I don't remember the exact quote, so that just ends up irritating Haru in some way. After Legoshi tried to find her, Haru ends up walking into a dark alley alone, and both Legoshi and Haru start to slowly spill out their feelings for one another, and it's just really great to see these two finally open up to one another, and it's just really fascinating to see the dynamic between the two, because Haru doesn't think a carnivore-herbivore relationship would work, because there's no way a wolf wouldn't eat a rabbit, according to Haru, so, well, there's no guarantee, so if you want word for word. So yeah. Anyway, the next point, like at the very end of the alleyway scene where Haru runs off after being, you know, completely jealous, she doesn't know how to deal with her feelings, and after Legoshi and Haru slowly end up pouring their feelings out for one another, it's just really great and just really enjoyable to see these two finally open up, and just, it's just absolutely phenomenal. So, after all that, right when they get to the very top of this beautiful hillside where you see all the lights and everything of the city, Legoshi finally admits that he likes Haru. After this beautiful monologue from Legoshi, and it's just really heartwarming to me and just really wonderful. So, now on to my next point. Louis ends up missing, and this ends up spreading around Cherryton like crazy. And it's rather quickly. But the main point I want to get onto this review is how Jack and Legoshi became friends. This volume alone also opens up at how Legoshi and Jack became friends as kids. And we see Jack is a highly intelligent individual, since, according to him, dogs were bred for more intelligence rather than combative nature, while Legoshi at this time is just really young, was just bred for more combativeness, but he's honestly much more of a softie. Of course, since I assume that you've read volumes 1 through 5 already, and then watching this review after, so yeah. Anyway, back to this. So after the scuffle between Jack and Legoshi, well, discussion at first, and then the other kids try to, you know, rile them up to fight. And Legoshi tells Jack, "Why don't you get angry? Why are you still smiling?" And Jack says, "Dogs aren't supposed to get angry. We're supposed to smile," or something around those lines. And it's just surprising that Jack ends up attacking first, so the teacher ends up breaking it up, and thus we have the friendship of Jack and Legoshi for years, since also they also discovered to be neighbors within the same neighborhood, wherever that may be. So I thought that was a really interesting dynamic and really eye-opening for a lot of other different characters within this manga volume alone. And it's just really great to see all of these characters flesh out in one way or another. So yeah, we got Juno, Haru, Legoshi, just Jack, just a lot of different build-ups from this point on, and it's just really fascinating to see how Paru opens up these characters to the audience. So, my next point is that Legoshi crosses paths with Louis after Louis has been gone for 2 whole months from Cherryton, or from being in school in general. So, and finally, Louis ends up giving his letter of resignation to the drama club, and it just turns out that Louis ends up leaving with the Shishigumi. So, spoiler. So anyway, Louis is recognized as the new boss of the Shishigumi after he killed the previous boss from Volume 5. Remember that guy who got his brains blown out by Louis? Like, literally, from the panel itself, it's just this beautiful full spread page of Louis just looking at the boss dead in the eye while he's just pleading for his life while having a gun shoved in his mouth, and Louis just ends up pulling the trigger and thus killing him, making him the new Shishigumi boss. But before that, the new Shishigumi have dinner together and Louis has to eat steak. Now, it's from the Shishigumi's freezer. I think it was like a buffalo steak or something, but the panel itself was just drawn out so beautifully. Just so phenomenally done, and Louis just having this inner conflict of, should I eat this? Should I not? And he realizes that the Shishigumi is testing him to see how far this herbivore would go, this young deer of a man. And it's just great to see the expression of Louis' face just go from panic to repulsed, and so he finally ends up slowly cutting into that steak and just taking a bite and just demanding more. Like, the way his face is just drawn out with the eyes and everything is just absolutely wonderful. It's just really great. This series alone never ceases to amaze me. So it's just absolutely wonderful to see this complete transformation of this up-and-coming Beastar to just absolute darkness. And in my opinion, this volume alone just keeps on surprising me one after another, and it's just great. And I seriously get a lot of Kingdom Hearts vibes from Louis in a way. Well, Riku in his early days from Kingdom Hearts 1, but anyway, back to Beastars. So, yeah, after Louis eats the steak, he is officially the new boss of the Shishigumi, and my overall thoughts on this chapter, I give it a 9.2 out of 10 because a lot of characters get fleshed out, and again, I try to keep these reviews as spoiler-free as possible, but there are going to be some spoilers because, you know, I like to give my thoughts on some certain scenes and everything. So anyway, this has been my review of Beastars Volume 6, so please support the official release of this series. It's just absolutely great. I know the idea of anthropomorphic animals might not be ideal for some people, but that shouldn't stop you from enjoying this wonderfully written story, in my opinion. And as always, Beastars is written and illustrated by Paru Itagaki and published by Viz Media, and this has been my review of Beastars Volume 6. And this is Kite562 signing out, and I hope you have a wonderful day, everybody. Later.